build it, he will.
It's the Skinny on Sports Podcast with Aaron Cowk.
I throw balls far. You want good words? Data language.
Talk real sports with a real man.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
And now, here's the be-all, end-all, know-it-all of high school, college, and pro sports. Aaron Skinny Cowk with the Skinny on Sports.
We're talking about practice, man. I'm the MVP.
Good Monday morning out there, Western Oklahoma. Welcome to the Skinny on Sports right here on 98.1 FM. The Sports Animal. Glad to have you along for the next hour. We can get into all kinds of stuff. Obviously, the Final Four is set. Man, your bracket, I actually took a snapshot of it. It was so high at one point.
Oh, me too.
I mean, like,
when it was in the 3,000s?
At 3,000s. Yeah. I was like, wow, out of 3,000, I was out of 23 million brackets, you were in the 3,000s.
It's wild that I'm still trying to wrap my mind around how high that. I mean, that is an all-timer for me.
And then the Dukies.
Man, they let me down. They let the nation down.
I was really wanting to see where you were going to be
if Duke would
have won.
Me too.
As much as I was going to get annoyed by giving it up to you this morning, I was wanting to see exactly where you'd get.
And then I'm intently watching this game during Easter times, and I felt bad because we had family over. I'm like, hold on, let me watch this. But then my wife's like, because she knew who I was rooting for. She goes, is this going to break your bracket? I was like, I don't think so, because nobody picked this particular game to have North Carolina State and Duke. So I don't think it's going to hurt me either way.
I would love to know how many people out of 23 million would have North Carolina State in the Final Four on 2%. Their bracket. That what it is?
That's the stat that popped up on my phone. It was 2-something% of brackets put them in there. And they're probably all living in North Carolina.
In Raleigh, North Carolina.
North Carolina, yeah.
Yeah. So we can talk about the games over the weekend. I think the tournament has been just fascinating theater. It's been really, really good. Maybe it's because I didn't watch very much in the regular season at all, and now getting really involved in the tournament, I'm enjoying it more. But it just seems like this one has been played at such a high level in so many games. That Duke North Carolina State game wasn't very pleasing to the eye for a lot of it, but there hasn't been very many of those. Most of the games, 70s, 80s, 90s, there's been some points being scored. So we'll talk about all of that. Thunder, 2 good wins over the weekend, one at home, one on the road last night. With Shea returning into the lineup and hit a huge shot, but everybody contributed into that win last night inside Madison Square Garden. So where are the standings with a couple of weekends left? Major League Baseball weekend. There were some surprises, I think, for teams that got off to better starts. I mean, my Brewers being one of them. I basically left them for dead before the season ever started. Now they get off to a really nice start. Yankees sweeping the Astros.
4-game sweep.
Was 4-game sweep. That's pretty impressive to get started there for the Yankees. There's some others that we can go through as well. And then just kind of figure out what everybody did over the weekend. 225-9698 is the phone or the text line. That is 225-9698. Give us a call, shoot us a text. We can talk about any of those things or whatever else might be on your mind. Feel free to chime right in at 225-9698. If you're going to be outside the listening area, a couple ways to stay in touch with the show. One of those is to log on to kadsam.com. The other is download the app. The app's got it all. It's got radio. It's got the penny news. Big Elk and Paragon TV. We just do everything we do right there, courtesy of the Paragon app. And, of course, Skinny on Sports Podcast. If you missed the show entirely, you can check us out anywhere where podcasts drop. How are you today, Jared?
Good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How was your weekend?
It was good. It was real good. Had a lot of food and enjoyed the great weather. How was yours?
Man, it was Easter weekend, and that means alumni weekend over at Sayre for Kara, and that means alumni golf tournament for me and Will, and that means good food and family time, and so we everybody kind of got together at my house on Friday. I made some chicken wings on the grill. It was pretty low key for a alumni Friday. I've noticed, of course, now this is my first one with us living here and not there. Mm-hmm. And by there, meaning right across the street from the golf course, which normally meant well, let's go see who all's over there. And then, so that didn't happen. It was pretty low-key Friday, which I noticed, the first time I noticed that was on Saturday. During the parade, as all the emergency vehicles went by with sirens blaring.
Yeah.
It didn't hurt my head at all.
I was going to say, you probably woke up at a normal time. And then,
my man Will had to step back to the sidewalk. It was crushing his head.
oh, dear.
But no,
good.
great parade. Lots of candy. Saw lots of people.
Good.
Lots of people there that you see every day. And but it was pretty chilly Saturday morning. I looked at the weather forecast. I knew it was supposed to be gorgeous Saturday afternoon, like mid-70s, very little wind, sunshine. So I took no warm gear to wear for the golf. I mean, I had a light jacket, but I didn't have any pants. I mean, I was thinking, if the sun doesn't come out, I'm going to be in bad shape. I'm going to be freezing. And I made this joke probably more times than anybody wanted to hear it. But so we left the parade, got to the golf course at like 11:45, started at 1. And I mean, it was like as soon as I literally like got my clubs out, the sun came out, and I was like, see, even the good Lord knew the tee time was 1 o'clock. Now, it was, I don't know if I've ever played over there at Sayre or about anywhere with such perfect weather. I mean, it was light breeze. It felt like the breeze was coming from different directions all day, quartering, mostly north, but then all of a sudden you'd feel like it was out of the south, but it wasn't enough to really affect much, and it was just a gorgeous, gorgeous day. Man, the golf course is in really good shape over there. If you got a chance to play. I mean, the grass is coming, obviously, as far as the fairways, but the greens were really good. They rolled good. It was a good day. And, Will and I, we played above our head.
Oh, yeah.
Way above our head. We got third overall in the whole thing. Not like in a certain flight. We shot the third best score of the day. And I promise you, we're nowhere near the third best team that was there. Now, that's the highlight for the show and contributors. There's certain guys, Will contributes with texts a lot of times in the show. There's another guy that contributes with texts that didn't quite have the same success. And his brother-in-law, or not his brother-in-law, his buddy Dakota, has been nice enough to point that out on the text line.
We're doing this.
Our man Drew.
We're going to pick on him. Come on.
Our man Drew told me they made 7 bogeys in a row in a 2-man scramble. Ouchies.
They add up, don't they?
79. Yeah. A soul-crushing 79.
Usually after the first couple, you say, forget it. Give me a cold pop.
Well, I'm hoping that was the case, but yeah, that's not very good. Heston and Kellen won, which I talked to Heston's wife later on that evening and tried to explain to her, you have a brand new baby. This guy should not be allowed to come play golf right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Keep him at the house. That way it gives everybody else a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
She didn't think that was the case, but I did. So, yeah, they won. I'm trying to remember who all won the different flights. But anyway, I know I think Jay Manning, they cashed a check of some sort.
Cool.
I actually think Drew and them won money, even though they shot 79, which is just ridiculous. But I think they did actually win maybe second in their flight, something like that. Anyway, yeah, Will and I played great. We had a good time. Then yesterday I made ribs out on the grill. We had ribs, and we had leftover baked beans that my mother-in-law makes for Friday. We had them left over. They're it's like candy. It's like bean candy. She put so much brown sugar in there.
Yeah,
they're pretty good. And then we made some corn, a corn dish.
Cool.
So that's what we did over the weekend. Some good food. There was good food over there with some different food trucks. It was very
awesome.
Cool. Very cool.
That's awesome. It was bittersweet for us on Saturday because it was the last time my oldest could do the egg hunt. She's aged out now. And
the community-wide egg hunt.
Yeah, and the weather was perfect for that and great turnout. And I was worried that she would be like, the older they get, the less they want to do things. And she said she still wanted to do it, and a lot of her fellow classmates were there to participate too. And that was kind of bittersweet. Like, wow, that's the last time she gets to do this. We'll have to watch James the next 3 years. But yeah, a good turnout there, and the weather was perfect. We stayed in the garage all afternoon. One project turned into another, and turned out we cleaned out the entire garage, and we actually rearranged it, and we somehow made it bigger. It was pretty cool. It's a nice little feeling.
Well, you know what? As kind of a welcome home gift to me, y'all could do that to our garage while we're gone. I'll give you the code and everything.
That's a hard no.
I don't even care where you put it.
I mean,
I'll find it later.
I had to get a dolly to move because we have deep freeze and the fridge in there, and we moved stuff. And the girls, I bought them lockers for their sports stuff. And we needed to put that in a better spot, so we moved some stuff around, and that's a chore moving all that. But then, you move it, and you see what was behind it for so many years. Well, let's clean this up. That shop vac, we put it to work, just sweeping up all that stuff. But it's nice now. It's nice to clean all that out, and we took advantage of that nice weather. No wind, usually when you sweep and that wind kind of swirls it around, nothing like that. It was nice. Yesterday was nice. Got to hang out with family. Did Easter egg hunt at home with little ones, and here we are. Got a bunch of leftovers too. I'm already looking forward to lunch.
It seems like yesterday was nicer than what they had originally forecast as far as wind. The wind never really got blowing like they thought it was going to.
Wasn't bad. Was not bad.
Well, it was a good weekend.
It was a good weekend.
It was very, very good weekend. Now, now we start what's probably going to be the longest week of my life, Jared.
Yeah, because in your next week. So what's you're hitting the road on what?
Sunday.
Sunday.
Yes.
How long of a drive is this? You're going to go about halfway?
Oh, yeah, it's a 2-dayer.
Yeah.
We're going to Oxford, Mississippi.
Okay.
On Sunday. Staying the night on the campus at Ole Miss.
Cool.
The inn at Ole Miss. Tyler's already told me you need to get up in the morning and go check it out, check out the campus.
I saw our man Tyler on Saturday.
Did you? So I'm sure we'll do that. Depending on what time we get there, I don't know how much time there will be for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then get up and have a breakfast, and then we got to drive. I think it's like 4.5-ish hours to Atlanta, to the airport, and pick up Chad in April, and then another couple hours to Augusta.
Cool.
So I think it ends up being like 16 or 17 hours, something like that. But we're going to cut that in half and be able to kind of check out. That's the one thing about the South. So I've never been to the South, driven through.
No, yeah.
I went on a golf trip to the Robert Jones Trail in Alabama one time, but we flew into Birmingham, or into Montgomery. And then just went straight to the golf. I mean, so, and it was like 10 minutes away. So I really haven't driven through, quote unquote, the South.
The advantages of a road trip.
Yeah.
You really get to see it.
I've been to, I think the furthest east, maybe on I-40 I've been is Little Rock. Maybe Little Rock, Arkansas.
Driving?
Yeah.
Driving, yeah. Yeah, I've flown into Nashville. You kind of get a little bit of a taste, but it's real glitz and glamour. You don't get the real, what we're talking about, those small towns. And, of course, I've been down to the Panhandle of Florida last 3 summers. Mm-hmm. But, again, we fly into Pensacola.
Yeah.
And that's all we see. So
Tyler's told me to stay on the interstates. Just because of if not, everything's 2-lane. It's like 50-mile-an-hour speed limit.
Oh,
you can't. It was, yeah. No, well, probably that too. But 16-hour drive.
If you don't stay on the interstates, you start hearing banjos. You're in trouble.
Well, there's probably some of that as well. Got one of our listeners doesn't like Mississippi.
Okay, what'd Mississippi do to you?
Worst place ever.
Wow.
I've heard that about Birmingham. I mean, we'll just be going through Birmingham, driving to Atlanta, but I've heard Birmingham isn't the coolest place of all time. I think
Tracy Lawrence likes it.
I'm pretty.
A painter painted him a Birmingham.
Yeah, I don't think that's the same
it's not
thing.
as nice. Okay.
I'm excited about seeing Oxford, and then that's what in the South, not being there. How many stadiums might we drive by?
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And originally we were going to go to Nashville at the end of this week, but that got, White's playing baseball, so that didn't happen. I don't know how fired up I'd be to see the Commodores Stadium in Nashville, but maybe you might slip by Knoxville
They've done some
somehow.
improvements on it. So.
Knoxville. There's probably a way to go through Tuscaloosa on some, to see Bryant Denny Stadium.
You see, you just should have gone on the schooner with the Roughnecks. They're doing that SEC tour.
Yeah, I saw the people in A&M were a little bit flabbergasted as to why the schooner was on their campus last week.
Well, that's funny. That's funny. Who cares?
No, but anyway, so we start the countdown right now. Yeah, a week from today. It'll be somewhere.
So do we need
somewhere
to
in Mississippi?
Put a programming note out about Friday?
Yeah, it's Friday. Well, Thursday we're going to Tulsa, OABs, collect our awards, and also the station of the year. If people don't know that. We haven't done a very good job promoting that, I don't think. I'd have had promos running 24/7.
Well, it's hard to brag on yourself.
Yeah, it's not really.
It's
not
Did
really.
I mention my bracket got into 3,000?
Yeah, not really.
Oh, okay.
See, it's pretty easy for you there. You just did it.
The Rangers won the World Series.
So we'll do that Thursday. So we'll be both of us will be at Tulsa Thursday. That means Friday, you'll have to listen to the guys in the city for this hour. We will not be on the air on a Friday. We will on Thursday, not on Friday.
And since you'll be gone,
so that means Thursday will be your last chance. That'll be the last time I'm on the air until the following 2 Mondays.
Right, and
Monday after the Masters. Scott's going to be with you.
He's gonna. He said if nothing comes up, he's gonna sit in.
He'll try to sit in as much as he can.
So it'll be a Scott Garrison week basically. Since we're not giving him we're taking away his Friday.
Giving him a whole week.
Whole week. He'll help me out next week. He said, I got one request. Can we not talk about baseball?
Yeah.
Well, as long as we don't talk about soccer, we're good.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the way it works, right? Yeah, so
we'll be talking about basketball, the NBA.
That's why that's all going to work out starting on Friday. Yeah, that'll be 6 days in a row, 6 air days in a row. But, man, will I have stories when I get back.
It'll be a Masters recap special on the Skinny on Sports.
Yeah, I'm afraid we're not going to talk about anything that Monday, and maybe the whole week. You never know.
Remind me to give you some moolah.
Karen and I, on our morning walk this morning on the golf course, we were talking about that. Okay, it's getting down here to where somebody wants something. They better tell us.
I might have to give that to you on Thursday. I don't know if I'll see you on Friday.
And here's the deal. You have to tell me what you want. Mm-hmm. Because I can't communicate with you when I'm there. It's not like I can take pictures of shirts and text them to you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm not going to have a cellular device.
That's going to be so nice for you, though, right?
It's going to be super weird.
Disconnected from your phone for so many hours.
I think it'll be super weird. I mean, how long has it been since you haven't had your phone for 12 hours?
I try. There's times I've tried just to set it down and walk away, just to get disconnected for a little bit. But then paranoia sets in man, what if they need something? What if we're off air?
Well,
what if Sunday, yesterday morning, we had a little issue on KCO? What if I hadn't have seen that or hadn't have got that text?
I was right in the middle of Sunday school. I was like, well.
I had 10 – lucky we got that text because I had 10 minutes before we went to church.
Mm-hmm.
I quickly jumped on and figured it out. But
Jeremy's wanting me to call in every morning like Craig. I might do that once, maybe twice.
It's up to you.
You never know.
Let me know.
Just depends on how it's going. Well, I'm not going to let you know. I'll just look down. I'll text, look down.
Okay.
Answer the phone.
No problem.
I just don't know timing wise. And of course, you got to remember, it's an hour.
Yeah, I'll
be ahead an hour.
You'll be ahead an hour, right?
So it's not going to do me any good to call at 9. So nobody will be here. I have to call at 10.
It's called, yeah.
I know Tuesday's going to be out because that's when we start playing golf, 10 o'clock. I guess we could call you from the course. Me and Kissling.
Whatever you choose to do.
Yeah, and then I'm sure I'll already be on the grounds Wednesday.
Yeah.
Maybe Thursday. Get a small recap.
Maybe a report from the road on Monday when you're driving. Where would you be by then?
Probably still be in Oxford.
Give us a report of the Grove.
Yeah, the Grove's right there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right across the street.
I bet it's all bloomed up and everything. You'd think, right?
I would think.
Yeah.
I would think it's a lot greener down there than it is here, would be my guess.
Yeah, this week's going to be slow for you.
It's a good thing our golf tournament signups just started. That'll keep me enthralled for a little bit until it fills up. By the way, our golf tournament books are open. Website is live. ABC and Championship.
I'm afraid it might crash.
Well, I'm afraid that while I'm sitting here, the morning flight's going to fill up and even overfill. We're hanging out here on a Monday, checking out the Western Oklahoma Realty Bracket Challenge. It's coming down to the nitty-gritty. It looks like if the 2 1 seeds continue on the collision course that it appears they may be on, this thing is not going to be wrapped up until Monday.
No, I think you're right.
You, Ham, Joel Abbey, you are the only one in the top 10 that has Purdue winning the whole thing. And then we have at 15 Sooners J. So I'm pretty sure it's J. That could pop up there. Mm-hmm. And then a bunch of people pick UConn that are still alive. So in my estimation, just looking at this, knowing what's ahead, it appears to me as if it's either you or Ham's going to win.
Well, based on the app, and if you go to the app, I don't know if you can do it on the browser, on the website, you can hit forecast. And it gives me a 62.1% chance to win. Coach Ham, 35.1%. And then you can see show my path to win, and it basically says UConn to not win it all, and Ham's path is UConn to win it all.
Yeah, because here's the problem for you.
There is a problem for me. Yeah,
the problem for you is you're not going to make up any points by Purdue making it into the finals because he's got that too. So both of you have UConn and Purdue in the finals. Mm-hmm. You have different champions.
Yeah.
And he was able to slice into your lead with Alabama making it into the Final Four because he had that.
I think if Duke had won yesterday, that would have been...
Duke had won, would have helped you.
Monumental.
Well, you'd have been right there. But here's the problem, though. That last game is worth so many points. You'd have to have a massive lead in order to be able to hold him off. Because so 80 points for Elite Eight, you'd get 160 for each Final Four game you get right, which you'd both get the same amount. So you'd be 80. It still wouldn't be enough. Because that last game is worth 320 points. You see him? I mean, it's just such a massive lead. And because he had the same final as you. That's the kicker. Is he's got Purdue all the way to the same game and you got UConn all the way to the same game. It's just you've chosen different winners. So this will be exciting. Maybe we can get a group text going with a little trash talk back and forth between you two. Let's see. Joel Abbey is right there. You know, you can kind of see where it's headed, depending on the champ. And then if everybody loses on Saturday, I guess you win. Nobody else gets any points.
Or if UConn loses,
if UConn loses,
that's it.
That's it. And then here comes Jay flying up, and he's rooting for Purdue. If they just can win the first game, he'll be right there in nice shape in order to take advantage of a UConn loss. Now, let's talk about the game. Speaking of UConn loss, that doesn't look very likely at the moment.
Oh, my goodness, no.
Man, they have just been able to win. The dominance, not only are they the first team since Florida back in 2007 as the defending champ to return to the Final Four, go back and look. They have got to be, with last year's run where they just blew everybody out throughout the tournament, now this year's run where they've just blown everybody out, this has been some of the most dominant back-to-back years that we have ever seen for anybody. And obviously you're talking about 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago with the Billy Donovan Florida teams that were the last to be able to go back-to-back and raise the trophy twice in a row. I really thought Illinois would be able to score enough to at least make it interesting, and that was nowhere near the case on Saturday. They just locked them down, held the Illini to 52. Nobody's even been close to holding them down like that. And then, they're the one team, and I think we saw a little bit of maybe Purdue's issue moving forward that could pop up and shooting, even though they've been one of the best three-point shooting teams throughout the season. They struggled to make shots, and that kept Tennessee in the game for a long time. But UConn, man, it just seems like it doesn't matter. They'll play they'll play your style because they've got all styles. It doesn't make any difference to them how the game goes. They're still going to be able to execute, and they've looked as good as Purdue has looked, and Purdue's looked really, really good. I think still to this point, UConn has to be considered the favorite with the way they've played so far this tournament.
Absolutely. They look, I think I texted you, I said the UConn is ridiculous. They are just, with that 30-0 run, that's kind of in the midst when that was going on, that happened. And I texted you, that's impressive. What they're doing is impressive. And talk about the parity of basketball, and here these guys are just kind of ruling the roost for the now going into 2 years. It's really, really impressive. Hurley has done a remarkable job over there.
Held Terrence Shannon to 8 on 2 of 12 shooting. I mean, and he just ran roughshod through this thing, even all the way back to the Big Ten tournament for Illinois. And it just wasn't the case there against Connecticut. So the Huskies move on. Man, Clemson and Bama on Saturday night. Alabama, they've been pretty the last two in the Elite Eight and then the Sweet 16 before that against Carolina. Those were the games where they kind of won playing the way they play. Scores in the 80s, running up and down the floor, shooting threes, and that kind of thing. I still go back to that game against Grand Canyon on the weekends on the first tournament, the first weekend of the tournament, where I was so impressed by them being able to win what was just a knockdown, drag-out fight of a game. Mm-hmm. You didn't really see that from them in the regular season. You did, and I actually thought, Clemson had held everybody before Alabama way under their season average, like to the tune of almost 20 a game under their season average, and they just weren't able to do it to Bama. Bama, that was they scored too much. Clemson, they played really good defense for a lot of the tournament, but they weren't able to hold Bama down enough to where the Tigers could score enough points to win that game. And so Alabama into the Final Four, first time, but neither one of those teams had ever made it. Yeah. And so Bama goes to the Final Four for the first time ever.
That's pretty cool. And you kind of talk about that toughness that Alabama brings, like the Grand Canyon game, and then Clemson. I wonder how that matches up with UConn, because you talk about how UConn be as tough with Alabama. Does that make sense? They're a chameleon of a team where they adapt to anything. Can they? That's the intriguing thing for me with the UConn-Alabama matchup.
Well, and there's
what does Alabama choose to do?
they're going to do what they do.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And that's the one thing about them, which makes they're super duper dangerous, because they have the ability to just make a boatload of threes. On any given night. I mean, that's what this tournament is all about. But Bama, in a lot of ways, is maybe one of the most scary teams that I think UConn could play, because they're going to play how they play, and they're going to shoot threes. And if they start making them, and they start, you know what I'm saying, that's where things could get a little dicey. If Bama, now on the other hand, UConn could choke them out, and then it's just a complete blowout. But Bama's very fun to watch. Mark Sears has been as good as anybody in this tournament. He was 7 of 14 from behind the arc on Saturday night against Clemson to score 23. He's been, right there at 25 to 30 every night for the Crimson Tide, and so I think they're a live underdog if they can make shots. They can't. Well, that's kind of the same way with everybody, I guess. But at the same time, I think Bama is even more that way because of how reliant they are on that three-point shot. Yesterday, dude, Tennessee-Purdue was an awesome game for a lot of it. The stars that you wanted to see showed up with Edey and with Connect. Connect poured in 37, but Edey is on a run through this tournament that we may have never seen, or it's been a long, long time since we've seen somebody play the way he's played, dominate games the way he's dominated them. Yesterday, 40 and 16, 5 of those on the offensive glass, 22 free throws. He doubled up. His free throws attempts doubled up Tennessee as a team. They only took 11. He took 22 himself. But Connect kept them in it. I think a big part of the difference was in that game, Fletcher Lawyer for Purdue was able to make some shots, score 14 to kind of chip in and help Edey. Braden Smith with 9. Nobody really got going for Tennessee outside of Connect to try to help push the Volunteers into the Final Four.
Well, I mentioned it on Friday. What I was looking for in that Gonzaga game with Purdue was who else not named Edey was going to contribute, and they shot lights out, those guys from outside. So that was going to have to continue. And it wasn't as dynamic as it was against Gonzaga yesterday against Tennessee, but they hit the shots when they needed them, and Edey was just fantastic. He's doing things. He's setting that bar for big guys, that those statistics, and it's really cool when you see his name up there with like Blake Griffin. He's past him, and what are the others the familiar names that had dominated college basketball back in the day, and he's etched his name in stone in that regard. He is awesome. And that's why I'm leaning on them, because I think because of him. I've said it since the beginning of this tournament. Why pick Purdue, because I think they have the best player. And that kind of history shows you the team with the best player, more often than not, comes out on top. UConn might be the best team, but I think Purdue has the best player in Zach Edey. That guy's awesome, and I'm anxious to see him this weekend. Man,
we all want to see let's see him play.
Purdue versus Edey versus, help me with the big guy's name.
DJ Burns.
Yeah, that matchup just.
And then we got NC State.
Yeah, there they are.
And here's NC State, which, think about how improbable, and you mentioned this last week, and I thought you made a really great point, of not getting in the tournament. It's specifically talking about OU not getting in the tournament as the last team out. And this North Carolina State team is probably the one that knocked them out of it by winning the ACC. And think about what it took for that to even happen, way before this tournament started. Virginia's up 3 with like 4.5 seconds left in the ACC tournament, shooting a free throw to ice it. They miss it off the front of the rim. O'Connell banks in a 35-footer to send it into overtime. That's just early in the ACC tournament.
Yeah.
That wasn't even like to win the ACC tournament. That's before they had to beat Duke and North Carolina in the ACC tournament.
That's crazy.
And so win those 5 games in 5 days, which earned them their shot. They were not going to make the tournament without winning it. So they do that. And now to see the way, if there is such a thing, like, you talked about picking them how you did in the bracket just because they were on a roll. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, so was New Mexico. And it didn't translate, right? They just got pounded by Clemson. But they had ran through their conference tournament. You see each year, like half of them work and half of it doesn't. But to me, when you watch them play, and I'm not going to lie to you, I haven't watched them play till now, all season long. I don't know what it looked like at first, but I know what it looks like right now. And the confidence and the way that they play with each other and the belief in each other that they have fostered through that run in the ACC tournament all the way now to the Final Four, it's palpable through the screen. Like, you can feel how confident they are in each other. It's amazing to watch.
When they played Duke yesterday, and I think it was a big thing for them when did they beat them? Well, we talked about this.
They beat them in the ACC tournament.
Beat them in the ACC tournament just a few days after losing to them in their regular season. But beating them showed them, well, played them before. We know we can beat these guys. But then there's the momentum thing that this team was on a roll. And watching that game yesterday, they acted like they belonged to be in that game, even though it was going up against mighty Duke. And, man, Duke never had an answer for them. They couldn't stop them, and they didn't have an answer for them. And it looked like forever – I forget how much the run was, but like it was like stuck at 40 for Duke, and NC State kept adding on, and it wasn't like an overconfident attitude with the intent. It's like we know we're supposed to be here. We know we can play with this team. We've done it before. That's just a bad matchup for Duke, because imagine if it was anybody else other than a fellow ACC team that they go up against. There's a lot, that is a thing for me, I think, when you see a team that you're familiar with playing, like, okay, this is just like a conference game.
Yeah, see, I wondered that, having Clemson in that drawing.
Yeah.
But at some point, you can get wore out by a team, too, to where, I don't know the history, but I assume North Carolina has a giant series edge against Clemson in basketball, right? I mean, a huge one. And I would assume Duke does against about everybody but North Carolina as well in that conference. But I think the one thing you said, that being able to turn around, and it was like within a week. They played twice within a week. Losing to Duke and then beating Duke. Maybe that did help. I mean, obviously they had to beat them to get there.
And it's not a matter of how many wins in a row. I mean, that's obviously a big part of it. But it's who you're doing it against. When they went and beat North Carolina in the ACC championship game, we beat them, and then you go and do this to Duke. And, just that's impressive to me. And they're doing it with an amount of confidence, which is awesome. I mean, going in and then we talk about having games with contenders, right? Like they needed a close game. Like we mentioned Houston getting that close game from A&M, but they would go and lose. But, they had that overtime win against Oakland, a 14 seed. So they're winning in different ways. Like they're beating, they beat they beat Tech and then the close game with Oakland, and then go and it's just it's a weird kind of run that parallels almost the Valvano one.
I know
isn't it? What seed were they? A little higher. Than 11, but that was back when the tournament was.
It was not as many teams, I don't think. Were they an 8? 6, 8?
Of course, they showed it over and over again yesterday. Was that 84?
Seed. 83.
83.
1983. They were 6. Yeah, that's why I was thinking 6 or 8. They were a 6 seed back in 1983. That's man, I don't. It's just wild to me to think about if that shot doesn't go in against Virginia. Kevin Keats is probably fired.
Yeah.
And now he's got a team in the Final Four. You have to have a chair. A chip in a chair is what they always say in poker. Just give me a chip in a chair and I've got a chance. Well, you have to be able to be included. That's why people get upset when their team is excluded when they think they ought to be in, because you never know. Mm-hmm. Was this the 6th time I think an 11 seed has made it to the Final Four? You never know. Now, are the odds against you? Obviously, yes, they are. But I know this. You don't have any chance to make it if you're not in it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's where that gets irritating. When your team doesn't make it when you think they should, and some of the different things say they should, because you might be that team. You never know.
Yeah, I haven't heard any of this talk. We kind of mentioned it when it's fun to see the upsets in the early round, but when it comes to the Final Four, you want the big names in there. I haven't heard a bunch of naysayers get upset that an 11 seed made this tournament.
It's because it's North Carolina State.
Because it's NC State, yes.
It's still a power team.
Yeah, and I listen, I'm not – I know I picked Purdue, but I'm not going to be shocked if NC State takes them down to the wire.
Well, and I do think that the one thing about it being this team, this seed being this, is – it harkens back to that run that everybody remembers in 98 or 83, excuse me. with Valvano and with how crazy that was. It always does. That's the one thing about this one where there's some past that brings the present all together and makes it really cool. The only thing that would be even cooler is if this was last year and it was like 40 years. You know what I mean? Like the 40-year anniversary of it.
That'd be really cool.
That's the only thing that would make it better. But other than that, it's awesome. It's a really awesome thing that they're there. DJ Burns is so easy to like. He seems just, he's a big guy that not sure he should be playing basketball. Like, are we 100% sure he shouldn't be like a third-round pick in the NFL draft at tackle?
Yeah.
Like, even right now, are we sure that shouldn't happen?
Yesterday he would get the ball and he, put a post move on, and I thought, there's no way that's going in. And he kept putting it in.
Oh, 29. There were some unbelievable performances individually, and he was one of them. 29 and 11, 6 assists. I mean, that's one of the – oh, no, wait. He had 3 assists. Sorry, wrong line. But that's another thing about him is he double team him, he passes it, finds guys. He just doesn't look like what you'd think a dominant player would look like. But he has been, and it's been really, really fun. So I like this Final Four so much more than the one last year. I hated the one last year. And guess what? I didn't hardly watch. But the matchups, even though it's not just all one seeds, Alabama has been a team over the last 3 or 4 years that has been kind of on the verge. Last year as a 1 seed, and heck, they might have been the number 1 overall seed last year, close to it, going into the tournament. And they've been coming, and they finally break through. Obviously, UConn and Purdue, that matchup would be awesome to see if Klingon could not eliminate Edey, but at least slow him down enough to make somebody else beat you. And the cool story with NC State. I mean, this is a way, 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 way better Final Four for me. And I think we're going to see that with the ratings as well once that gets there.
My favorite stat line from yesterday is Zach Edey's 40 points and 1 air ball from a free throw line. I love teachable moments, and I'm watching that with my kid, and she's like, "Whoa, he must not be good at free. He must not be good, Dad." I'm like, well, 1, pump the brakes. He's good. 2, it's late in the game. He's probably tired and nervous. He's trying to ice this thing. And then when he went back to the free throw line and he made that free throw, I said, "That's what you do.
Yep.
You don't even remember the missed air ball free throw in the Elite Eight. You go on to the next one."
Yeah, it's like when you hit a shank. If you ever hit a shank,
I've hit a few.
The next time it's like, how far left is this one going to go? To not do that again. No. Instead, his went right through the eyes. You're right. He stepped right back out the next trip and knocked it down on the first shot. Hanging out here on a Monday. There's something for everyone at Boomtown, Jared. Boomtown Grill, steak, chicken, seafood. There's pizza, there's pastas, there's wings, there's appetizers, there's cold ones, there's drinks, classic hamburger, French dip sandwich, Southwest chicken wrap. They have got it all at the Boomtown Grill, 2103 South Main here in Elk City. You can carry your food out by calling them at 580-225-3463. Boomtown is your March Madness headquarters. It can also be your Masters headquarters to watch the Masters coming up in a week or so. It's open every day of the week, 11 to 10, Sunday through Thursday, 11 to 11, Friday and Saturday. Of course, happy hours 2 to 6 on Monday through Friday. That's the Boomtown Grill. And then I hope everybody has been listening to us, because with the moisture we received this morning, if you'd have called Superior Lawns, our man Scott Kelly, got some of that insecticide down, or maybe you got your application of fertilizer down, then this moisture soaking that right in there to get your lawn on the right track. If you're looking to be yard of the week, yard of the month, or you just want to up your turf game, Superior Lawns is the way to do that. They've got those granular application programs. As I mentioned, insecticides for discourage grubs, any other insects. Also the fertilizer, bring that nice deep green to your yard throughout the summertime. Give Scott a call, 580-799-5670. Superior Lawns of Western Oklahoma, Elk City, Canute, Cheyenne, and Sayre. Speaking of Elk City, Canute, Cheyenne, and Sayre. There's some really good baseball played over the weekend, right? Canute went down to the AMPO tournament and won. Jake Butler on the mound in the finals against AMPO. Threw a shutout, 15 strikeout shutout. Very good.
Yeah, I was following that. That was good. That's a good win for those guys.
It's a very good win. Somebody asked me how the Elks do over at the I-40 Classic. They were awesome in the 3 games that they played over. They played Weatherford on Thursday, Clinton on Friday, back at Weatherford on Saturday. So here's who they beat. They on Thursday they beat Class B number 1 Calumet 9-4. Calumet turned around, beat Weatherford 11-3, lost to Tuttle 7-5, and then beat Clinton 10-0. So that's obviously a nice squad. Then they beat previously unranked Elgin on Friday via the run rule in the 5th inning, 10-1. And then came back on Saturday and knocked off Class A number 5 Okarche 11-2. And I think that they actually faced Easton Roby on the mound, which we start looking at rankings from around the state as sophomores.
Yeah,
he's one of the best arms in the state already as a sophomore. So they. That's a really, really, really good week for J-Mac and his guys.
That's awesome. Love the good baseball out here in this area.
Arapahoe win their tournament. They did, as they beat Sentinel 17-9 in the finals of their own tournament. Leedy was at Visai. Visai got them in the finals, 3-2. So we'll see how these results change the rankings when they come out later on this afternoon.
Yeah.
Canute down at 12 going into the week. Man, they got some – that was a really, really good week for the Trojans, beating Lindsay, then Christian Heritage, then obviously AMPO, who was up above them in the rankings going into the week. So we'll see how much that affects both Arapahoe Butler and Canute, maybe moving on up to get them in better spots for the districts and the regionals once those playoffs start. So good stuff by the baseball folks. Thunder last night, what a fun game that was. 113-112. Brunson, how many shots did New York get on that last, 2.5 possessions? I mean, they just kept it and volleyball it, getting rebounds. Finally, Brunson scores to give the Knicks the 112-111 lead with 4 seconds left. Thunder inbound it. Perfect pass from Giddy to Shea. Turnaround jumper on the baseline, nothing but that. And then the Thunder get a stop on the other end with Brunson unable to win the game at the buzzer. Oklahoma City wins 113-112 over the Knicks inside the Garden. 33 for Jalen Williams. You realize Josh Giddey has played 3 games in MSG in his career, and he has 3 triple-doubles in every game he's ever played in MSG. Last night, 16, 13, and 12. He's been, I don't know what happened. I don't know how it happened. I don't know. I mean, I know when it started happening, which was the month of March. But all of a sudden, this isn't just like a 2 or 3 game heater. Josh Giddey has been playing really, really good basketball for the better part of a month now, about the whole month of March, and picked it up even more toward the latter stages of the month of March. That's just another weapon that the Thunder are going to be able to have moving into the playoffs here in a couple of weeks.
That's awesome. He's picking it up, and I hope that continues into the playoffs. And Williams, man, I was able to watch highlights. He's a highlight reel. He was awesome. Of course, SGA doing what he does. I wonder about the health of SGA. I wonder if now they got Philly tonight. Am I right? Or
tomorrow.
Is it tomorrow? Okay, so it's not a back-to-back.
3 and 4 though. I think they play Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, if I remember right.
Okay,
I've got it pulled up. Yeah, Tuesday Philly, Wednesday at Boston, Friday is at Indiana, and then Sunday the final of this 5-game road swing against Charlotte at the Hornets.
Yeah, it's good. And he's clearly he's valuable when he's on the floor. SGA is so. I wonder about setting him last week. What if one game was enough to get him back to where we need him? He said 2 games. 2. I thought it was just 1.
He didn't play against the Rockets, and he didn't play against Phoenix either. on Friday.
He didn't play against Phoenix?
I don't think so.
Okay. But then let's I'll be Debbie Downer.
Yeah, he didn't play.
Chet with just 5 last night. I mentioned it a couple of nights ago in the loss to Houston. He was very limited. Just a rookie thing, you think?
There's just certain matchups that aren't going to be good ones for him.
Yeah.
Because of his size. One thing that did happen last night, which was a welcome, maybe. I mean, it's so impossible to tell who's going to play who because of how jumbled up the West is. But Chicago went into Minnesota and beat the Wolves. So the Thunder are actually all by themselves on top of the Western Conference standings at 52-22. Denver with 23 losses and Minnesota with 23 losses. Those two play again. If you're a Thunder fan, you'd really rather Minnesota lose to Denver if you're concerned about getting the highest seed possible. Because Minnesota, they're going to end up, if they lose that game to Denver, we'll have to see what the next tiebreak is. Because they split the season series 2-2. If Denver can beat Minnesota in the next time they play, which is in Denver again, now Minnesota beat them down the other night on their home floor, but that would even them in the division as well at 12-4. So I don't know we'll have to figure out what the third tiebreak would be. But it also opens you up to maybe you're looking at the Lakers as the 1 seed, which I think we all would just as soon not see that with the way that LA dominated through the end of the season in that series. But I don't. The way it's jumbled up, I just don't think you can choose that right now, right? I mean, you don't. From night to night, one game here, one game there completely flips the thing on its lid. Now, there has been just a little separation between 6 and 7 with 29 losses for Dallas and New Orleans, 31 now for Phoenix and Sacramento. So there is just a little gap that has even formed over the weekend, basically. Between those teams. So maybe, once this road trip is done, you play these four games the rest of the week, then maybe you start to see things starting to come more into a clear picture. And if you wanted to try to manipulate the standings that way, maybe you could. But that's still, somebody's got to win that game, a playing game. And it doesn't guarantee any opponents.
No.
So it's a weird... It's a weird deal because you look at the East. I mean, you know who's playing. Indiana and Miami could flip. Everybody else is pretty well kind of set. It's not that way in the West, at least right now. So.
It is cool though. Winning last night officially puts them in the playoffs.
That's right.
That officially clinched a playoff berth. That's cool. To see that next to their name in the standings.
And their magic number to clinch a home playoff series is probably 3? Because they won the season series from the Clippers, who was in the 4th spot. 5 games ahead in the loss column from the Clippers. Both teams have 8 games to play, so it doesn't take much of a combination of winning the Thunder winning games and the Clippers losing games to where they're going to be guaranteed no worse than 4. I would say they're guaranteed no worse than 3 with the unless the bottom just completely drops out. I think you're talking about the Thunder 1, 2, or 3 and kind of figure out where that's at throughout these last 8 games in the regular season and see where the chips fall and what the matchup will be in the first round. But yeah, you're right. Clinched a playoff spot and think about, it was pretty rough around here for 1 year? I mean, seriously. How, 1 year was pretty rough. And then we figured out, but in that year, we also figured out, you know what? SGA is pretty good.
Yeah, you can see it.
He's pretty good.
Yep.
And then the second year was like, all right, he's really good.
Yep.
And now, then you get to play in, then you get what's going to be the playoffs. So the rebuild time is not, the Hornets are always in rebuild mode. The Pistons and the Wizards, they're always rebuilding, right?
Yeah.
The San Antonio's probably won't last very long, but right now it feels like Portland's always rebuilding.
Well, it felt like forever the 76ers were always the process, as they called it. And it just, that process has taken a while. At least for me anyways. I thought, you've had these high draft picks and you're still
The process took about 6 years, and it hasn't really done anything.
It hasn't really done anything. We are so spoiled as Thunder fans.
No doubt.
We really are.
The Rockets finally lost. I think they'd won 10 or 11 in a row. They finally got beat yesterday by Dallas, so that opens up a two-game lead for Golden State and that last spot in the play-in over Houston. That was getting pretty tight. It remained a game. Golden State won twice, where if they would have lost, they would have dropped down into a tie. Those two teams play on Thursday. So that becomes a must-win for Houston if they want to figure out a way to get into the play-in. They've got to win that game. And maybe even then that's not enough. But they definitely, that's a huge game for the Rockets to try to get themselves into a play-in position. All of the Thunder really, they remind me of where Oklahoma City was last year. Young guys that are starting to figure it out. You can see some promise, and you really want them to, if you're a Houston fan, I know you're wanting them to get into that play-in. That way they can experience what that is to then move forward like the Thunder did from last year to this year. Not saying they're going to make that big a rise, but still you want them to at least get some, whatever the play-in experience is, because you feel pretty good and pretty certain about your chances to be in the playoffs for the upcoming foreseeable future. Because as you know, we talk about this all the time, the elevator is going up for Oklahoma City, and they're starting to pass people that are going down. Not just this year, but with age of stars and all that kind of stuff. And Houston's kind of on that same path where their elevator is starting to go up, and they're going to start passing some of these teams that are getting old and have a better chance moving forward to be able to be playoff team. And you'd sure want them, if you're a Houston fan, to try to play in just once before it gets real, probably starting as soon as next season. So good stuff by the Thunder over the weekend. And, there's still 4 more of those Eastern Conference road games. Obviously, the one that I think everybody's waiting on is Wednesday at Boston, with at least right now the top 2 teams from the East and the West in the standings. Oklahoma City beat them earlier this season in OKC, so that's one on the second night of a back-to-back that I think people are probably looking forward to, even as much as Philly. It's more the other way with that Boston game.
Yeah.
So, good stuff. All right, Jared. We made it through another day.
Yep.
Just 3 more.
You're counting them down, aren't you?
Just 3 more this week. 3 more shows. That's all we got. Since we don't have one on Friday. Everybody have a great Monday. Watch the weather.
You've been listening to the Skinny on Sports podcast with Aaron Cow. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to get alerts of when the latest podcast is available. Thanks for listening.